Hi everyone, this is Mr. Neil Wrighter, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. This is of a patient who attends every 6 to 9 months and they always suffer from a blocked right ear. Their left ear is very seldom blocked with wax. There was a bit of wax there today, non-occluding wax, which I removed actually free of charge because it was near the entrance. It wasn't really going to improve their symptoms now. The difficulty with this particular client is that they suffer from really severe tinnitus, which is exacerbated if you perform microsuction. And the patients really struggled to find someone in the past who are able to remove their earwax just using mechanical ENT microinstruments, like in this instance Jobson Horn. And so they travel a fair distance to come, but they said it's well worth the travel because if they do have microsuction performed and the ear does recover, but it does spike their tinnitus, they report, for about a week, and it really can get bad. And also, oddly enough, even if you perform microsuction this ear, they report their tinnitus spiking in their contralateral ear, so their left ear as well. So at all costs, they want to avoid microsuction. What's even more tricky is with this case, well, there's a few things. So yeah, we can't use microsuction, or want to limit the amount if we were to use it. But they've got a very narrow ear canal here. You can see the entrance of the ear slightly inflamed. So they've got a bit of otitis externa here. And even thereafter, the ear canal is really narrow and bendy. And the consistency of the wax, it doesn't really lend itself too well to using a Jobson Horn, because the consistency, the best way I can describe it, I can't think of any other way, but it's like loose wet stool. It's the only way I can describe it. And you would prefer, if you're using a Jobson Horn here, for the wax to be a bit firmer. The reason being is once you get in behind the wax or into the wax with the Jobson Horn, and as you leverage the Jobson Horn out of the ear, if the wax is a bit firmer, it comes out in big plugs. In this instance, because the consistency of the earwax, another way to describe it is like really soft butter. So the problem is with the Jobson Horn is as you're bringing this wax out, you're almost spreading this wax a bit like soft butter on toast, but obviously in this case the ear canal. So you're smearing it, which makes it really, really difficult. We can't use drops, because if you use drops, you're going to make this wax even wetter, which is going to be even more difficult to remove with the Jobson Horn. Of course, you can't use a ear hook with this or forceps, because it's just too soft, the consistency. Ear irrigation, so that's when you use water, and I know that's still quite popular in the US, I believe. But in the UK, it's not really performed that often. And in any case, because the patient's got tinnitus, that's the last thing you want to do. Your last thing you want to do is perform you rather perform microsuction, if truth be told, in this ear if you had no choice, than having the ears irrigated, because it will just exacerbate. This patient's ear canal is also quite long, and I struggled a bit to remove the more deeper wax with the carbon fibre Jobson Horn. So you will see me, I'm not sure quite when, but a bit later on in the procedure, I revert to my metal Jobson Horn, which is a bit longer in length. Now, you can see we're really deep in the ear there, and what's critically important, this patient has also got very sensitive ear canals. Now, everyone's ears are sensitive, the inner two sections, the bony part. The outer third, the cartilage portion, yeah, you can put a bit of contact, there can be a bit of contact on there. But if you touch the inner 2/3 of the ear canal, and I know, not only because I'm an audiologist and I know the anatomy and physiology, but I've had my ears poked and prodded on the bony part, and it was really uncomfortable. So we've got to also avoid touching this patient's ear canal. So it's like that game of Operation. If you've been watching my videos and subscribe to my channel, you'll know that I make a reference to that quite often. So now we can already see the patient's eardrum, so their symptoms have significantly improved already. But of course, I want to see how much wax I can get out as safely as possible. Now, this particular video I would not have dared to upload if I had my comments enabled. So some of you may be aware that I disabled the comments on most of my social media. I can't remember back, I think it was video 1040, so it's 100 videos ago, if I'm correct. And although it was nice to obviously read all the great comments, but used to get loads of horrible comments, sometimes quite fortunately YouTube did block some of those automatically, but some of them were race-filled hatred as well. So I decided I was just going to not, because even when you're trying to avoid reading the horrible comments, they will just pop up on your feed. And I know I used to receive so much more positive comments, but one negative comment, or not one, used to get loads, but it would really just, constantly, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, it's not really good for your mental state of mind. So I disabled the comments, and I'm glad, particularly for this video, because if I upload this video with video enabled, I can imagine a lot of abuse I would have got, because there is going to be a lot of wax still left on the ear canal wall. I am not going to be able to remove all of this wax, and that's for the patient's comfort. Of course, I could have just got the Jobson horn, scraped the ear canal, and that's the thing that puzzles me sometimes. I mean, it's not that we can't remove the wax from the canal wall. Of course we can. It's nothing stopping me applying pressure to the canal wall and scraping this wax off, but it's going to hurt the patient, and that's why we don't do it. So it would be easier for me, there we go, with the metal Jobson horn, it'd be way easier for me just to go in there and just gung-ho, take all this wax off the canal wall without a care in the world about the patient's comfort. But it's obviously more difficult when you are trying to be more delicate, because you're going to have really nimble hands here, hand-eye coordination. So yeah, I still remove, the video still another 3 minutes to go, so I do remove a lot more wax still, but there is going to be some wax smeared across the canal wall. So we're right on the anterior, such as the front part of the ear canal, quite medially, and you can see I'm just using the side of the metal hook. So it's not just the scoop itself, we can use all sides of the Jobson horn to try and remove this wax. And I'm just trying to hover over the canal wall. So this is on the back part of the ear canal. Now, if this is on the cartilage portion, the outer third, we can then put pressure. It's not a problem. It's not going to be that. The patient can still find it uncomfortable, don't get me wrong, but it's far less risky a procedure when you're doing it on the cartilaginous portion. But this is all on the bone. And you can see we are getting a lot of this off the canal wall, actually. It's a bit more than I initially thought when watching it back. If I was to use microsuction here, I would have just probably put a squirt of oil in there and just suction it up. It'll come out probably quite easily. Truth be told, this is not going to cause them a problem, but because the patient has to attend quite regularly, they wanted me just to remove as much as possible, and they asked if I could just do a bit more for them. And I said, I will continue until I feel it's to the point where it will be uncomfortable, and at that stage we will stop. But we can't often get, if a client came into me with this amount of wax and said they couldn't hear because the wax, I would say their hearing loss is certainly not as a result of, or solely as a result of this amount of wax, because this is not really going to affect the hearing that much, if at all, if truth be told, because it's not blocking the ear. We can see the eardrum in its whole entirety. So we're approaching the end. It's a nice, healthy, lovely looking eardrum. So again, I'm just going to go back in with the metal. And with the metal one, we've got to be even more delicate, because obviously the metal on bone, it's not going to be a pleasant experience for the patient. The carbon fibre one that I was using before is slightly shorter, and because of the ear anatomy, because it's quite narrow and twisted, they've got a long ear canal, I just needed a bit of extra reach, and the metal one provides me with that. That's not often I use the metal ones, I don't really feel the need to. And with the carbon fibre one, if you do make contact with the canal wall, it's going to be far less uncomfortable. So I'm just going to go back in with the carbon fibre one now. I just want to see if I can just, although it's a bit difficult going that deep, but as you can see, as I'm bringing the Jobson horn out, that part of the ear is so narrow that there's very little space for the Jobson horn to fit in there. It was almost touching all sides of the ear canal, not only the base, but the front and the back part of the ear canal. So it's very difficult to remove that last bit. So I'm just mopping up near the entrance. So this is the cartilage portion. You can just see how narrow the ear canal was there, actually, in that last shot. So yeah, look, there's a bit of wax coating the canal wall, but please don't hate. And it's all for the good of the patient. They were really happy. I showed them the video back. We don't hide anything here. We show them everything, and they were really, really pleased with that. The hearing has significantly improved. I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Do take care, keep well, speak soon, and do stay tuned. I've got loads more videos to upload in due course. Thank you, bye.